Some of the pills people trust the most are quietly teaching their brains how to forget. Not overnight, not in some dramatic movie-like way, but slowly, silently. One missed name, one forgotten appointment, one moment of mental fog at a time. And what makes this uncomfortable is that many people taking these medications are doing exactly what they were told was healthy. Doctors prescribe them every day. Millions of adults rely on them to sleep, calm anxiety, reduce pain, control allergies, or manage blood pressure. But newer research is forcing experts to ask a difficult question. What if some common medications are aging the brain faster than the body? By the time most people notice memory problems, the brain has often been struggling quietly for years. That's why so many adults over 40 describe the same strange feeling. You walk into a room and forget why. A familiar word disappears mid-sentence. Names take longer to return. Your focus feels thinner. Your mental energy fades earlier in the day. Many assume it's just stress, or aging, or poor sleep. But sometimes, the real cause is sitting inside the bathroom cabinet. In this video, we're going to uncover the hidden connection between certain medications and memory decline. Why the brain becomes more vulnerable after age 20, and especially after 50. And what researchers, neurologists, and longevity experts are now warning people to pay attention to before the damage becomes harder to reverse. Because protecting your memory is not only about preventing disease, it's about protecting your identity. And one of the biggest threats may be something you were never told to question. 1. The sleep aid trap. How common sleeping pills like Ambien and Benadryl may quietly slow your brain. The most dangerous sleep problem is not insomnia. It's depending on something that makes your brain look asleep, without actually restoring it. Many people think deep sleep and sedation are the same thing. They are not. Doctors and sleep researchers have warned for years that some sleep medications, especially when used too often, can interfere with the brain's natural overnight repair process. Drugs like Ambien and older antihistamines like Benadryl may help people fall asleep faster, but the brain can become dependent on artificial signals instead of building healthy sleep rhythms on its own. And that changes something important. Your brain cleans itself while you sleep. It clears waste, strengthens memory, resets emotional stress, but when sleep becomes chemically forced night after night, some people begin waking up mentally dull instead of mentally restored. That's why so many adults say the same thing without realizing the connection. I slept 8 hours, but I still feel foggy. One man in his 40s started taking Benadryl every night because it felt harmless. Within a year, he noticed names slipping away during meetings. Another woman relied on Ambien for stressful work nights and slowly began forgetting small daily tasks she normally handled easily. The frightening part, most people never connect the dots because the decline feels gradual, just slow enough to ignore. Pause for a second. Good sleep should sharpen the brain, not blur it. Experts now recommend asking a doctor about long-term sleep aid use, improving light exposure in the morning, reducing screen stimulation at night, and building natural sleep pressure through movement and consistent sleep schedules. The mistake many people make is assuming over-the-counter means risk-free for the brain long-term. Have you ever woken up after a full night of sleep and still felt mentally exhausted because the next hidden problem may be sitting in millions of people's anxiety medication bottles right now? 2. The anxiety medication. Nobody warned you about Xanax, Ativan, and the hidden cost to memory. The brain does not forget stress for free. Sometimes it trades memory for temporary calm. That is the uncomfortable conversation many people never hear when they begin relying too heavily on medications like Xanax or Ativan. These drugs can be extremely helpful when used correctly and under medical supervision, but researchers and neurologists have long observed that long-term or frequent use may affect attention, memory formation, and mental sharpness in some people. Here's why that matters. Your brain is designed to learn through emotional signals. Stress, anticipation, challenge, even uncertainty help the brain decide what information is important enough to store. But when the nervous system is repeatedly slowed down chemically, the brain can become less efficient at building strong memory pathways. Not because the person is weak, because the brain is adapting. That's why some people describe a strange experience after months or years of regular use. They feel calmer, but mentally flatter. A businessman in his 50s started using Xanax during a difficult season of anxiety and burnout. At first it felt life-changing. His racing thoughts slowed down. Sleep improved, but over time, conversations became harder to track. Small details disappeared faster. He started rereading emails 3 or 4 times before responding. Another woman described it differently. I stopped panicking, but I also stopped feeling mentally sharp. That subtle trade-off catches people off guard because the change happens slowly, and slow changes are the hardest for the brain to notice. Take a breath for a moment. Calmness should not come at the cost of clarity. Health experts often recommend reviewing long-term anxiety medication use with a doctor, especially when brain fog, forgetfulness, or emotional numbness begin appearing. Many people also benefit from combining professional support with sleep improvement, movement, breathing techniques, stress reduction habits, and healthier nervous system recovery patterns. One mistake people make is assuming symptom relief automatically means the brain is functioning better underneath. Have you ever felt emotionally calmer, but mentally slower at the same time? Because the next medication on this list hides inside something millions of people take for simple allergies. 3. The allergy medicine surprise: why Benadryl is raising questions among brain health experts. Some people are not forgetting because they are getting older. They are forgetting because their brain is being slowed down on purpose. That is the hidden concern surrounding older allergy medications like Benadryl. Many people trust it because it has existed for decades. It feels familiar, safe, normal, but some researchers have warned that certain antihistamines can affect chemicals the brain uses for alertness, learning, and memory, and the brain notices that disruption more than people realize. You may feel it in small ways first. Slower thinking in the morning, mental fog after lunch, trouble finding simple words, forgetting why you entered a room. The dangerous part is how easy it is to dismiss those signs as just stress or normal aging, but the brain depends on stimulation and clear signaling to stay sharp. When those signals are repeatedly muted, especially over many years, memory and focus may gradually weaken, not dramatically. Quietly. Pause for a moment. The body can become used to feeling tired, even when the brain is underperforming. Health experts often recommend reviewing long-term use of older antihistamines with a doctor, especially for adults over 50. Newer allergy treatments may sometimes have fewer cognitive side effects for certain people. One mistake many people make is taking something regularly, simply because it is sold without a prescription. Have you ever mistaken brain fog for simple exhaustion? Because the next hidden danger becomes even stronger when multiple medications start mixing together inside the brain. 4. The painkiller problem: how certain prescription opioids like Oxycodone and Hydrocodone can affect mental clarity. Painkillers do not only numb pain, sometimes they numb the brain's ability to stay fully awake to life itself. That is the part many people never stop to question. Medications like Oxycodone and Hydrocodone can be important in serious pain management when used correctly under medical supervision, but long-term dependence on constant pain suppression may affect attention, motivation, reaction speed, and memory in some people. And modern culture quietly encourages this pattern. Humans are taught to eliminate discomfort immediately. Headache, suppress it. Stress, silence it. Fatigue, push through it. But the body was never designed to function like a machine with warning lights permanently covered. Pain is information. The nervous system uses it to protect you, slow you down, and demand recovery. When those signals are constantly muted, people sometimes lose awareness of what their body and brain truly need. That's why many adults describe feeling emotionally distant, mentally slower, or strangely disconnected after long periods of heavy pain medication use. Not broken, just dulled. And dullness is dangerous because it feels normal after enough time passes. Pause for a moment. A quiet brain is not always a healthy brain. Health experts often recommend reviewing long-term opioid use with a doctor, improving recovery habits, addressing inflammation, prioritizing sleep, movement, hydration, and exploring safer long-term pain strategies when possible. One mistake people make is believing survival and true health are the same thing. Wake up to this early. Relief is not always recovery. Have you ever ignored what your body was trying to tell you because numbing the feeling felt easier? Because the final section reveals the hidden danger almost nobody talks about. What happens when several normal medications begin interacting inside the same brain at the same time? And the truth about that combination may explain why so many people feel mentally older than they really are. 5. The medication stack disaster: the dangerous, normal habit of mixing multiple everyday drugs. The brain rarely breaks from one thing alone. It slowly becomes overwhelmed by layers people stopped paying attention to. That is the hidden danger of combining multiple everyday medications without fully understanding how they affect the nervous system together. A sleep aid at night, an anxiety pill during stress, an allergy tablet in the morning, a painkiller after work. Individually, each medication may seem manageable under proper medical guidance, but researchers have repeatedly warned that combining several drugs affecting alertness and brain signaling can increase mental fog, fatigue, slower reaction speed, and memory problems in some people. And humans are especially vulnerable to this because familiarity creates false safety. If something becomes part of a routine, the brain stops questioning it. That is how gradual decline hides in plain sight. You may notice it as low motivation, slower thinking, poor concentration, feeling mentally older than your actual age. Many people blame aging, while their nervous system is quietly overloaded every single day. Not failing, overloaded. Pause for a moment. The body keeps score of everything repeated long enough. Health experts often recommend reviewing all medications regularly with a doctor or pharmacist, especially after age 40 or when brain fog becomes persistent. Sometimes small adjustments create surprisingly large improvements in mental clarity. One mistake people make is treating symptoms separately while ignoring the total load placed on the brain. Have you ever looked at all the medications you take together instead of one by one? Because protecting memory is not only about what you add to the body. Sometimes, it begins with what you finally stop ignoring. Here's the uncomfortable truth most people never hear until much later in life. Modern humans are becoming heavily medicated, but not necessarily healthier. Sometimes the brain is not aging badly. Sometimes it is simply exhausted from years of chemical overload, poor recovery, chronic stress, and habits nobody taught us to question early enough. That should concern all of us. The good news is that the brain is incredibly adaptive when people finally begin paying attention. Small changes in sleep, stress, movement, nutrition, and medication awareness can create powerful improvements over time when guided properly by healthcare professionals. If any part of this video connected with your experience, share it in the comments. I genuinely read them, and I'd love to hear what changes you've noticed in your own memory, focus, or mental clarity journey. And if this video helped you think differently about brain health, subscribe to The Human Upgrade, because the next video may completely change how you understand fatigue, aging, and mental energy after 40.